2023 is going to be a year that a lot of people are going to remember, especially in the video game world, because they have been a lot of extremely good 10 out of 10 masterpieces that end up getting released last year, which is something really rare to see. So originally I was going to talk about all my favorite games that ended up coming out last year, but I thought to myself that there was really no reason for me to do that, because everyone else ended up talking about that, and I thought I couldn't really add anything special to the conversation. So instead of doing that, I decided that I was going to go and talk about the game that ended up leaving the biggest impact on me because of just how disappointed it was, and that is being Ghost Runner 2. Now before I talk about the sequel, let me talk about the first game a little bit. The Ghost Runner 1 is a game that I really like. Now it's a game that has a lot of issues, and I really think when people talk about it, they really like to just pretend that the game is perfect, which that just isn't true. The game starts falling apart, especially around the ending section of it. When you come close to actually climbing the tower, you get hit with some absolutely terrible level designs and just some really weird decisions. But the game has a lot of heart, and it also has a really good foundation. And this is something that everyone can agree with. One thing that a lot of people are saying is that they really wanted this game to have a sequel, because the developers ended up making something special, so if they ended up taking that formula and evolving it, they could make a absolutely amazing 10 out of 10 game. And they were actually going into the right direction at first with the DLC that ended up getting released with Ghost Runner being Ghost Runner Project Hell. This is easily some of the best Ghost Runner gameplay that's currently out on the market, because it's absolutely amazing. You get to play as a character which is way more fun to play as than the original Ghost Runner that you get to play in the base game, and all of the gameplay changes and stuff that they make really pushes the formula forward. So when Ghost Runner 2 ended up getting confirmed, everyone truly thought that we were going to get more stuff like Project Hell and stuff around the beginning of Ghost Runner 1. The developers were really going to move the game forward and make something really special. But unfortunately, we weren't really given that at all, and instead we were given just this extremely disappointed game, so I just want to go and talk about it a little bit. But before I get into the negatives, let me first bring up the positive, and that easily has to be the two best parts about this game, which is the gameplay and controls and the graphics. The graphics are absolutely amazing. Ghost Runner 1 is already a really beautiful game, and I'm very surprised that they were able to make it look even better, because Ghost Runner 2 is absolutely gorgeous, especially if you have a PC that's strong enough to play the game in max setting, 4K. You get an absolutely breathtaking experience, and the world and environments still look really good, and these developers have mastered the cyberpunk aesthetic, especially when you're inside of the tower. It looks as good as being somewhere like in Night City, especially when you're like grinding on the train systems. It is a beautiful looking game. And also the controls. The controls in Ghost Runner 1 could be all kind of goofy, like sometimes it feels incredibly unresponsive, and also the default controls are just really weird, in my opinion. Thankfully in Ghost Runner 2, they completely fixed that with a way more better feeling Ghost Runner. No point when I was playing this game I felt like I was fighting the controls, and the whole experience you have playing as the characters and the default controls are way more better now. It just plays and looks way more better. But unfortunately, those are the only two compliments that I could give to this game, because everything else easily just has to be negative. So the first thing that's an automatic downgrade easily has to be the level design. Now, I feel like they ended up hearing the criticism that around at the ending of Ghost Runner 1, the level design kind of ended up taking a nosedive, and it got extremely annoying. So because of that, I think the developers ended up overcompensated, and they ended up making every single room in this game just feel extremely flat. There is no memorable room in Ghost Runner 2. All of them just feel like the exact same open space with a couple of grapple hook spaces and grind rails. So for the whole game, you just feel like you're jumping in the air, holding the block button, and just dashing consistently. That is the only thing you feel like you're doing when you're playing the game, and it's just extremely sad, because in Ghost Runner 1, especially if you're playing in Master Mode, every time when you get in a brand new combat encounter, you're looking around. You're seeing, okay, I can run on this wall, I can use this grapple hook, I can pick up this power-up. It's a very nice experience, where in Ghost Runner 2, the gameplay just gets very repetitive, because you just walk inside of a room, hold the block button, spam dashing over and over again, and then everyone is dead. It's a very bland experience, which is just a real punch in the throat, because you feel like the developers just went backwards. Because in Project Hell, that was something that was extremely difficult, but none of the rooms in that DLC felt extremely frustrated. There was no time when I was playing that game and I was like, wow, this is just absolutely garbage. Every time when I died in that DLC, it felt like my fault. So I really wish developers did stuff like that instead of what they actually ended up doing in Ghost Runner 2. And speaking about extremely boring, that can easily add in to the story. Wow, the story of this game is awful. Now, the story of Ghost Runner 1 is good. It's not like this 10 out of 10 masterpiece that's gonna completely make your pants explode, but it's a pretty nice story. Yeah, it's kind of generic and the characters aren't really that unique, but it gets the job done. In Ghost Runner 2, they make the story an extremely big deal. And I think if you're gonna do that, you should actually make the story good, because the story in this game is awful. You talk to the most generic and bland characters, and I don't even remember most of their names. There's literally only 2 characters I remember, and that is being Zoe, because she was in the first game, and then also Connor, because his head ended up getting exploded. Those are literally the only 2 characters I remember. Everyone else is just, who cares? Actually, that's not really true, because out of the whole cast, the only real interesting characters is only one, and it is the hacker you ended up meeting. You ended up picking her up around mission 2. She's an interesting character, but that's it. Everyone else in your cast are just these generic sci-fi stereotype. Oh, you have the fat scientist who's a little bit quirky, the hardened military man, the mechanic woman. Like, they're just not interesting to talk to at all. The only time I actually liked hearing the dialogue is when I was actually talking with some of the new characters, which is the hacker lady, if you can tell I clearly don't remember her name, and also the other Ghost Runners you meet. Because in this game, you actually meet other Ghost Runners and also evil AI. Talking to them are extremely interesting, but other than that, the story is just bad. And it's really disappointed to me that the developers put so much effort inside of the story, making a hub world, paid all these voice actors for it just to release extremely bad, and it's just this generic wet fart of a story that just sucks. Another thing that also sucks is the whole upgrade system. Back then in Ghost Runner 1, the way how you ended up upgrading your character was in such a unique way. They basically ended up just borrowing the system that they had in Kid Icarus Uprising, which is one of the best 3DS games out there, where basically to upgrade, you have to play Tetris. You pick the upgrade you want, you have to fit it inside of a space, and I think that is such a unique way to do an upgrade system, because if you can get creative, you can get some pretty goofy upgrades, and you are able to get some really busted builds in Ghost Runner 1, where in Ghost Runner 2, they completely got rid of that and replaced it with the most generic skill tree to ever exist. Hey, that extremely nice system we had in the first game? Let's just strip that away for just a bootleg cyberpunk upgrade scream. And that is just the whole way to describe this game. Thus, downgrade. Everything that Ghost Runner 1 did extremely good, Ghost Runner 2 just does worse. And that is just really sad to me. And this game just left me extremely disappointed. And I don't think I'm the only one who thinks that way, because there's not really a lot of people talking about this game on YouTube. And the Steam community tab, it's just not really looking that great. There's a lot of people saying that this game is disappointed, which is true. Anyway, that's it. This is just something that I want to talk about. My name is Lua. You have a good day or night. See ya.